Invite viewers to post their location and local time. The polished marble lobby of First National Bank glows under the noon sun, but it's not the kind of glow that feels warm. It's the kind that bounces off chandeliers like a spotlight on a stage nobody asked to be on. Brad Mitchell, teller since the days when flip phones were cool, leans forward with a voice that could cut glass, asking Kesha Thompson if she's lost. He gestures, in the most helpful, unhelpful way possible, toward the welfare office 3 blocks down. The crowd in line shifts, the way people do when they smell trouble brewing but don't yet know if it's worth staying for. Kesha, in a tailored suit that probably costs more than Brad's entire monthly paycheck, doesn't bite. She just slides a withdrawal slip across the counter. $25,000. Brad laughs, loud enough to echo, tossing in a few lines about fake IDs and you people for good measure. Phones appear like mushrooms after rain. One live stream notification blinking up, banking discrimination happening now. Historians still argue whether it's bravery or pure curiosity that makes bystanders hit go live instead of call the manager. But either way, the viewer count ticks up. Susan Martinez, the supervisor, emerges in heels that announce her arrival before she speaks. She and Brad form a united wall of protocol-sounding excuses: employment verification, source of funds, certain account types. Kesha calmly hands over ID and a platinum card with her name gleaming, but Brad barely glances before declaring it could be fake. The security guard, Jerome Washington, shows up looking like a man who'd rather be anywhere else, but orders are orders. The crowd is split, half nodding along with better safe than sorry, half bristling at the obvious double standard. One young professional calls it ridiculous. Susan warns him not to interfere, and Maya Patel's live stream pushes past 3,000 viewers. The bank's intercom blares a countdown to an executive meeting, as if the universe itself is keeping score. Jerome shifts uncomfortably, the kind of small tell that says he knows exactly what's going on, but has a mortgage to pay. The tension in the air feels like someone's about to drop a plot twist big enough to make the lobby's potted plants lean in. The next 10 minutes are slow boil, the kind where nobody realizes the water's getting hotter until it's steaming. Regional Manager David Chun storms in from the executive elevator, already wearing the face of a man ready to lecture about fraud prevention. He listens to Susan's hushed potential fraud case pitch, then launches into the standard speech about identity theft and social engineering, as if Kesha had walked in with a cartoon sack of money and a mask. Transparency, he says loudly, is important. Translation: everyone should watch us interrogate this woman so they know we're serious. Maya's live stream cracks 7,000 viewers. Hashtags start bubbling on Twitter, and still, Brad leans back in his chair like he's starring in a procedural drama. The questions keep piling: employment verification, tax returns, an affidavit explaining why she even needs the money. Kesha's phone buzzes with texts from board members about a Federal Reserve call she's due on, her lawyer offering to step in. But she ignores it all. Her expression hasn't shifted, and that stillness makes the crowd lean closer, as if sensing they're in the middle of a chess match where one player's holding a queen behind their back. Then it happens. She opens her leather portfolio for the first time, pulls out a business card, and sets it in front of Brad. He reads it aloud with dripping sarcasm: President and CEO, Thompson Financial Group, before scoffing about fake business cards made in China. But David Chun steps forward, squinting at the paper like it's an optical illusion. Recognition flickers. Thompson Financial Group, the name swims through his memory until it hits. Kesha hands over another card: First National Bank's logo, legal text about Series A voting rights, board of directors. David's face drains like someone pulled the plug. "You're on the board," he stammers. Kesha doesn't blink. "We own 31% of First National Corporation, largest single shareholder." The silence in the lobby is so complete you can hear the air conditioning hum. Brad's hand goes slack, the card slips, Susan instinctively takes a step back, and Maya's viewer count leaps from 15,000 to 28,000. The collective expression in the room shifts from condescension to the wide-eyed realization that the person they've been treating like an intruder is, in fact, their boss's boss's boss. Robert Sterling, the bank's president, arrives looking like someone told him the building was on fire, and in a way, it is. Kesha stays planted at the teller counter, her open briefcase now a command center of legal documents, stock data, and enough leverage to rattle Wall Street. She lays it out plainly. Systematic discrimination caught on multiple recordings, violations of the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, and a complete failure of management. The room is dead silent except for the clicks of Maya's camera. Sterling tries the classic corporate bomb. This isn't who we are, but Kesha cuts him off with numbers that don't care about feelings. 47 discrimination complaints in 6 months, 78% involving customers of color. She names names. Brad, terminated immediately. Susan, suspended pending investigation. David Chun, under full review. Historians still argue whether it was the public humiliation or the sinking stock price that truly made Sterling's jaw lock. Either way, Kesha keeps going. Her demands aren't suggestions theory, a 5-point ultimatum with price tags. Terminate offenders. Mandatory bias training. AI-powered discrimination monitoring. An independent ombudsman with firing authority. A $25 million community investment fund. The math is brutal, but Clear spends $67 million now, or lose billions when investors flee. And investors are watching. BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street giants with trillions under management are already pinging her phone for updates. By the next morning, Sterling is in an emergency board meeting reading from a trembling statement. First National accepts full responsibility. Reforms start immediately. Brad's history of 34 ignored complaints is read aloud before his official termination. Susan is dismissed for enabling bias. David resigns. Jerome, the security guard who tried to keep the peace, is promoted to Director of Compliance. Maya Patel is hired to run Transparency Communications. Even the AI system goes live in beta within weeks. 6 months later, the stock is up, investor confidence is stronger, and other banks are copying the Thompson standards. Congressional hearings cite the case as proof that economic pressure forces change faster than regulation. 1 year in, industry discrimination complaints have dropped by half, minority business lending has soared, and Maya's documentary premieres at Cannes, winning top honors. Jerome's on the speaking circuit, Brad's working at a credit union teaching bias prevention, and Kesha's model has spread to healthcare, retail, and hospitality. And so, the Marble Lobby that day became more than a place where money moved. It became a battlefield, a courtroom, a turning point. What began as a routine act wrapped in prejudice unfolded into a public reckoning that rewrote policy for an entire industry. The faces that once wore smirks and suspicion were replaced with a quiet concentration of people signing reform budgets. Not because they wanted to, but because they had to. In the months that followed, the ripples kept spreading. A customer at a small-town branch, thousands of miles away, noticed the difference in how she was greeted. A business owner who'd been denied loans for years finally walked out with funding papers in hand. Somewhere, a young teller in training heard the story of the day the shareholders showed up and decided they'd never be part of that kind of humiliation. Time softened the edges of the memory for some. But for those who had been there woed, heard the stillness after Kesha revealed the truth. It stayed sharp. It was the sound of a hierarchy collapsing in on itself. The sound of decades of "that's just how it's done" giving way to "we can't afford to do that anymore." The marble still shines in that lobby, but now it reflects something different, not just chandeliers and tailored suits, but the faces of customers who walk in without bracing for insult. Justice, in this case, didn't come from a courtroom or a protest signet. It came from a portfolio, a stock ledger, and the unshakable calm of someone who knew her worth before she even stepped inside. And somewhere in the gentle hum of that air-conditioned space, you can almost hear it's still that quiet, steady voice reminding everyone that dignity isn't negotiable.